Questions frequently asked, specifically by foreigners or sometimes even by Filipinos who have been away from the Philippines for a while. Can I open a bank account in the Philippines? How can I open it while I'm in the United States or while I'm overseas? Will they allow banking with a US bank? That is what we're going to talk about. Stay with me. Regarding the question of banking in the Philippines, it is not very easy to do banking in the Philippines. It's not as easy as in the United States. And that is because there is a lot of requirements, a lot of paperwork. Philippines loves paperwork. And I did some research on this. Surprisingly, there are certain things I did not know about, which for those people who already have a bank account, may prove to be interesting to you. So let's take a look at what I saw. How to open a bank account in the Philippines. That's the topic. First of all, you have to visit a branch, sign forms, submit a few identification documents in order to prove your identity and your residency. I was surprised when I was trying to open up an account at Philippine National Bank in New York. I cannot open online or by mail. I have to visit the office, the branch office. Same thing in other banks in the Philippines. You have to come in, you have to find forms, you have to sign forms. Now, that's only to open up an account. Once an account is opened, assuming they have online banking, you can do your banking online. It is possible to break from the rules a bit if you have a chat with a bank manager and explain your set of circumstances to the person. One thing very important in the Philippines is relationship. When you open up a bank account, see if you can talk to the manager. Ask the manager questions. Don't just talk to the clerical staff because you want to develop a relationship with the higher up. So talk to the bank manager and ask him questions. They will entertain you, specifically or especially if you're coming from the US or overseas. This way you develop a relationship. You wouldn't believe this. I had a problem with BDO, and that has something to do with closing of a dormant account. I complained at the central bank contacted them, they contacted me, BDO contacted me, and since that time, I've been very friendly with the bank manager. So next time there is an issue, I can resolve everything by phone and by mail. Because they knew I was going to go to central bank if I don't get it resolved at the office. So relationship is extremely important. So have a chat with the bank manager. Now, documents you need to submit, and I say as a rule of thumb, and the reason for this is there are always exceptions, and different banks have different rules or could have different rules. So I'm going to tell you the following, but only as a guideline. The fact still is, you have to have this idea so that you're not completely ignorant when you go to the bank. But the fact is, you still need to go to the bank and discuss it with the bank because they have different rules. And depending on the person you know, depending on the person you have a relationship with, rules could be bent. Immigration documents such as Alien Certificate of Registration, ACRI card, and in some cases, Immigration Certificate of Registration, or I should say immigrant. I guess this is for immigrants. Now, the ACRI card is required of all foreign nationals, immigrant or non-immigrant, including holders of temporary visitor visa, tourists, who have stayed for more than 59 days in the Philippines. You are required to have an ACRI card. So if you have that card, I guess you can open up a bank account. Passport or ID. By the way, there is some limitation to that. I'll get to it. Passport or ID, such as driver's license. Proof of address, such as rental contract or utility bills. I did not have that problem because I had a place at the time, but at the time I was only staying with my wife's cousin, and I just explained it to them, and they did not look for a rental contract or utility bills because I don't have 1%. I did not have an apartment yet or a condominium yet. a minimum initial deposit amount set by the bank, and different banks have different minimum amounts. There could be different within the same bank. There could be a difference in minimum deposit for checking account, for savings account, for whatever account. So you have to inquire. Okay, it depends on the bank. It depends on the type of account you have. 5x7 passport size photo. Some banks may take your picture using a webcam. I don't recall giving them a picture. It is possible, although I don't remember, if they took my picture from a webcam. Again, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but that should be minor. Inquire. Different banks, different branches could have different policies. Some banks may even require a reference letter from your current or previous bank. The chances of this happening is lower if you're opening an account with your own bank but abroad. For example, RSBC, Chase or Citibank, I think, and they have a branch in the Philippines and you're opening up, they may not ask for that. Quite honestly, I do not remember BDO, which is a local bank, not a bank in the US, asking me for any reference letter. Because I said, I'm retired. Beware that some countries have highly tight anti-money laundering policies, which make it difficult for a bank to open an account for foreigners, depending on where you are from. For example, the US has some strict laws in place that even force Switzerland to disclose information from their notoriously secretive number of bank accounts. Now, I remember when I opened up a bank account, I signed forms, filled out forms relating to Social Security, maybe FATCA disclosure, and so forth and so on. I remember that, but there is no big deal when it comes to that. My Social Security, US Social Security number I had to provide, so I knew that there will be reporting between the Philippines and the US. Can a foreigner open a bank account in the Philippines? A foreigner can open a bank account in the Philippines, but the type of account you can open will depend on your status as a foreigner. Are you a resident? Are you a dual citizen? Keep in mind, if you are a former Filipino citizen and you got your US citizenship, you're also considered a foreigner. If you have been living in the country for more than 180 days, you're classified as a resident alien. So this is for people who get 30-day visa extended to 60 days, extend, and they're already there 180 days, you are considered a resident alien for banking purposes, okay? Not for immigration purposes. Resident aliens can open accounts that are available to Filipinos, such as savings account, checking account, debit cards, and credit cards. Whatever is available to Filipinos, resident aliens can take advantage of the same thing. Now, if you have been staying in the Philippines for less than 180 days, you're classified as non-resident alien. As such, you are limited to foreign currency deposit account only, such as dollar savings account. You cannot open a peso savings account until you stay over 180 days, in which case you become classified as a resident alien, and you can open it too. But before then, you can only open a peso account, a dollar account. Now, does this apply to all banks? Is this a central bank requirement? I don't know. So when you meet with the bank manager, you inquire about this as well. Because if this is a bank requirement, then other banks may not have the same requirement. But I have a feeling this is a central bank rule. You can also open a bank account before you arrive with an international bank with operations in the Philippines. Best bank in the Philippines. For expats, now, it's better to work with international banks such as Citibank and HSBC or one of the major Filipino banks, as this will cover most of the nations generally and generally be easier to work with for newcomers. The other one is a Philippine bank that's doing business here, and I know of one, and that's Philippine National Bank. Like what I mentioned earlier, I went to PNB, I talked to PNB in New York, and they said I have to come in, fill out the forms, maybe get photographed or something before I can open an account. Now, also, for that purpose, the reason for my call was what will happen to my Social Security. This was early at the time before I even decided to reside or spend a lot of time in the Philippines. This is for purposes of the Social Security check being deposited to them, and then they will send it to the Philippines and you can withdraw it in the Philippines. The fee at the time, and this was about 6 years ago, was $7 or $8 per transaction every time the check comes in. Now, is there a fee when you get it from the Philippine bank? Also, can they send it to the Philippine bank or Philippine branch office of PNB? Or is it going to be, could it be deposited in a dollar account? Or is it going to be sent to the Philippines in pesos? And if it is sent in pesos, do they have a competitive exchange rate? So these are things you will have to ask the bank. Do they have competitive rate? Here are 4 largest banks in the country. Banco de Oro. Now, when I open a bank account at Banco de Oro, it's not because they're the largest bank, but it's important that you deal with the largest bank or larger bank. I dealt with Banco de Oro because of the number of branches or ATM machines that they have, because I plan to go around in the Philippines and I want to make sure that I'll be able to access my account anywhere I go. They have 1,400 branches and 4,400 ATMs all over the country. BDO is the biggest bank in the Philippines. Another advantage of being BDO client, if you are a regular traveler within Asia, is that they have offices in Japan, China, and Korea. See that? Finally, they have phone-based help desk and online banking as standard with all accounts. BDO has online banking. I've been doing online banking for so many years now with BDO. When you're doing online banking, let me remind you, don't forget about dormancy. 1 year. 1 year. That happened to me once during the first year or after the first year. And by the way, it just happened to me again recently because I fell asleep and I forgot I'm not doing any dollar account transactions in the Philippines, and I forgot to put a deposit just to give it one. That's all you need. One activity on my dollar account. On my Philippine peso account, no problem, because I have several accounts and I have an automatic fund transfer from one account to another every month. That's automatic, so there is no way I'll forget it. But my dollar account, that is not the case. I will have to send some money, like $25, a small nominal amount, just to give it an activity and you're okay again. But because I now know the bank manager and they know me, they knew that I was going to go through central bank if I don't respond to me. They took care of it right away. They acted on it right away. They sent it to me by email, no problem. I filled everything out, sent my pictures and all that. And then they even paid for the DHL or FedEx fees, which is over $100 just to mail it back to the Philippines in time. And then after that, they sent me another department sent me an email, asked for duplicate information. I got mad. I said, guys, you have to get your act together, or I'm going to close out all my accounts at BDO. And they were very apologetic. They said they did not realize that the other department already got the information that they needed. But always, it's a relationship thing. Metalbank is another one. They have a large network of ATMs, over 2,300 nationwide, and branches over 950 nationwide. Smaller than BDO. Land Bank of the Philippines. This government bank is another large and convenient option with a list of services and products that include checking, savings, account, debit cards, credit cards, insurance, and loan. Bank of PI, also with location all over the Philippines and online banking. That's the oldest bank, established in 1851. Now, that's the 4th largest bank. I said, where is PNB? Because PNB is a large bank and supposedly a government bank. Not listed as PNB, Philippine National Bank. The country's first universal bank was the fourth largest privately owned Philippine commercial bank in the Philippines. I guess that's before. Now they're overtaken by BDO and all these four other banks. PNB was established by the government in 1916, so even older than... No, Bank of PI is 1851. So this one is 1916 and became fully privatized in 2007. See, when I was still in the Philippines, I knew this was like a government bank. I left in 1971. So 1916, they were still government. In 2007, they became fully privatized. But that's PNB. Don't forget to find out if their exchange rate when they send the Social Security money to the Philippines is competitive. I have a feeling it may not be. So you may be better off getting it at BDO, maintaining a bank account here. See, it's useful to do this if you don't have any more connection with the US, if you're not planning to come back to the US. So this will just become like a transition point from the US to the Philippines. Opening a bank account in the Philippines is not easiest, but with proper documentation on hand, it should be a doable task. It's a little bit more complicated compared to doing things in the US. Fees are not too high, but the structure is different. There could be separate charges, such as fees for keeping the account open. I'm not paying for that. Oh, because I'm maintaining a minimum balance. If I'm not, there will be fees. Using cards, I don't have credit card. I use ATM card, no charge. Special charges for various ATM networks. I haven't used other network, so I don't know for BDO, but I always use BDO's ATM card. No problem, no issue. No charges, charges depending upon usage and how much you keep as a minimum balance. If you don't keep a minimum balance, there will be a monthly charge, and that monthly charge could be dependent on the volume. Because I have a problem with volume. There is no volume because I'm not in the Philippines. There is no activity, but I do maintain a minimum balance. You should read a fine print and contract thoroughly. Like what I said before, the minimum balance could be different for checking account, different for savings account, and any other type of ATM accounts, they call it, any other accounts you have. Are deposits in the Philippines insured? Very important because everybody was asking me about this. Yes, similar to FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in the United States, the Philippines has PDIC, Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation. Insures your deposit up to 500,000 pesos or about $10,000 per depositor. This is significantly less than FDIC's $250,000 insurance per depositor per insured bank for each account ownership category. What does ownership category means? I open a bank account, that's 1. My wife opens up in her name, 2. We open up a joint account, 3. Then if I go to another bank and do it again, then I have a total of 6. Okay, so 10,000 times 3 for one bank, 3 different account names, 30,000. 2 banks, I can have 60,000. 60,000. Then 3 banks, you can have 90,000. So that's how you can manage it, and that is the reason why I prefer to open up a bank account here and then just send the money periodically when I need cash or when my reserve in the Philippines is running low. That is the extent of banking in the Philippines. Like what I said, it'll be very easy to do it, but a little bit more elaborate and a little bit more paperwork in the Philippines, and difficult to do it online. Here I open up an account at Charles Schwab online. They never saw me, and I don't even know if they have offices around here. I think they do have one in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. I hope this helped you a little bit about the banking. Just be a little bit patient, and this is just in the initial stages. Once you already have an account open, you just have to make sure that you maintain some form of activity. I can't remember, some banks the activity requirement is 2 years. If you don't have activity for 2 years, that's when it's considered dormant. At BDO, it's 1 year, but it's not an issue. Open up 2 accounts and open up an online account. Then what you can do is deposit. Let me see. I deposit $100. That's $2. 100 pesos. That's $2 every month. every month to each account. And then when there's already so much money or built up, and it could be 2-3 years before that money accumulates, then you do a transaction going the other way around to return the money to the other account. And as long as there is that activity, I don't even pay attention to it. Now, I said earlier, it happened to me again on my dollar account. Why? Because I cannot do it on the dollar account. It's a little bit more complicated, I guess, and plus the fees involved could be higher. Whereas when I'm doing a peso account at BDO, the automatic transfer, there's no charge. There's no charge. So it's easy to maintain. So I hope this helps you a little bit. Please do share this with other people. I'll appreciate it if you click like, even if you don't like the video. And I'll appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so. Thank you so much. Make it a great day, and God bless.